Good morning, everybody. My name is Karen Kong, and I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Ottawa. And welcome to my This or That Thursday. So every week I try to post 2 cards in my Facebook page, and I ask my crafting community to pick one card for me to make live on Thursday mornings. And this is the card we're making today. It's a really easy card that was actually demoed at On Stage by, what was her name? Elisabeth. Oh, I can't remember her last name. Anyways, it was a DDM that demonstrated this card, and it was similar. I cased it and I changed it up a little bit, and this is what I came up with, and that's what we're making today. So it's really easy to make, and I think it would work well for a masculine card. So anyways, I'm going to get my computer set up so I can see your comments when I'm crafting. So if you're joining me live, I would love it if you say hi and comment, ask questions. It's always nice to have company while I craft and to have somebody to talk to. So just give me a moment while I get this up and going on my page. Whoops. Every week is a surprise. Sometimes Facebook changes things up and I don't know where the buttons are when I go live. Let me just see. Oh, here. I keep making it live full screen and I don't know, I can't see any comments. Oh, now I made it into a tiny window. Okay, where are the comments? Oh, here we go. I think I hit the right one. Great. Okay, so if you're joining me or watching on the replay, say hi and tell me where you're watching from, and I'd love to hear from you. So, okay, so I have my computer set up. Let me just get my my cell phone moved over so that you can see my desk and see what we're making. So just close your eyes while I mount my phone. Just a second. And here we go. Let me just zoom in before I mount it. Whoops, that's too much. There we go. Now I had to replace my my paper, my grid paper, because it was getting kind of ratty, and I don't know if it's exactly centered, but it looks like I did a pretty decent job. I think that looks good. And let's just go through what I have for this card. Okay, so I made it with a white card base and Pretty Peacock matte with Pretty Peacock ink, and I used a little bit of DSP. This DSP is from the Delightful Floral DSP pack, and it's just gorgeous. I love it. But I used the greenery pattern, which is not too flowery and could be used for a guy. So what I did not like as much was that I can see my white edges from my card base. So I think I'm going to change it up a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change it so that I use a Pretty Peacock card base instead, and then you won't be able to notice the edges, and then I'll have to put like a white mat inside so that you can see and write your message underneath your sentiment. Okay, so you can see that this hexagon, I used the hexagon to cut out the window in this card. I stamped a sentiment that goes on top of it that covers the inside sentiment, which says something different. So I think that's a really neat trick. Okay, so what else did I use on this card? So I had DSP and cardstock. I have used the Let's Celebrate embossing folder. It says Happy Birthday. I thought that was a great way to add a subtle bit of texture and interest to the front of the card without being too flowery or too ornate, and I think it worked well. And I used the Heartfelt Hellos and Heartfelt Hexagon stamp sets for this card. So this one is free during Celebration with a $60 order, and this is the one that comes bundled with the punch that you get at a discount because it is a bundle. So I think that's it. It's not a very complicated card, so let me just make some room and we'll get started. Hey Sandra! Thanks for joining me. Okay, so let me just make some room and we'll get started on cutting out the I'm just going to put a little bit of tape here to secure my grid paper because I wasn't sure it was in the right spot, but now that I'm okay with it, I think I'll just fix it there. All right. So I'm going to cut out the card base and the mats and everything, and then we'll emboss this. I want to show you how to do it because if you notice, this is much narrower than the card base, so I'll have to emboss twice, and I know that Tara was asking, she wanted to see me do that. So let's get these out of the way. And I will bring over my paper trimmer. All right, here's my paper trimmer. So I'm going to change it up. Okay, so Sandra, I'm just changing it up a little bit because I wanted to avoid having a little bit of that white edge. I don't know if you noticed it, but it's a tiny bit of a white edge on the mat here, right? Because it's on a white card base. So I'm just going to change it up so that we don't get that. I'm just going to change my lamp so that it doesn't cast a shadow. I hope that, there we go. I think that's better. The lighting's better now on their screen. So I'm going to cut the card base in Pretty Peacock this time. So this is an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. I'm just going to cut it in half along the long edge at 5.5 inches. So I'm just going to measure it out straight here on the paper trimmer, and I'll use the cutting blade. Then I'm going to score it this way at halfway again at 4.25 with the scoring blade, and that is the card base now. So I want another half piece, sorry, actually it's going to be 1/4 of the full sheet that's going to cover the front of my cards. So let me just cut that out. I'm going to get the other half sheet that I have left over, and we'll cut it this time at 4.25. Right there. And I'm just going to double check that this is actually 5.5 inches because sometimes the 8.5 by 11 is very slightly longer, but this one looks pretty good. Okay. All right, so that's my card mat and my card base. And then I'm going to need a white piece for inside. Oops, I'm going to need my, I don't know why I'm putting away my paper trimmer. I need this. And I'm going to need, let me just see, it's going to be a, I'm going to put a smaller piece inside the mat. So it's going to be, let me just think, coffee's kicking in, 4 by 5.25. So let me just see, 4 by 5.25. And that'll be our inside mat. All right, I'm going to put these aside. Okay, so let's go ahead with embossing the Pretty Peacock. I'm going to bring my cut and emboss machine over. So wherever you're watching from, I don't know about you, but it has been a very, very short, mild winter here in Ottawa. We're getting like spring-like temperatures here, and it's really weird. So usually in springtime we get ants coming out looking for food in our house, and they have already started coming out. I've already caught 3, which is really bizarre because February we're usually in like -10, -20 degrees Celsius kind of temperatures, and we don't see, there's no ants to be seen, but it's just so mild out there. I think it's only like -1 right now this morning, and it's going to be like 3 degrees today, so that's really bizarre. I'm not really complaining, but at the same time and I don't like winter, but I don't know, I feel like there's something missing when we don't get like a proper winter. Anyways, okay, so here I am. So like I said, I'm gonna have to emboss this twice. So I'm lining it up with the bottom here and along the edge, and when I close it I can see that it's very close to the edge of that. I'm gonna move it over just a tiny bit so that I don't get like part of the letters getting cut off there. So I'm gonna emboss it, the bottom section first. And I have to put it in, they always recommend on the packaging or whatever that you put the embossing folders with the hinge side in first. So that's what I'm going to do this time. I'm going to have to change it up for the next one in order to emboss the top. And I'll show you why. Okay, so here we go. All right, so that's half. I'll just show you. Okay, so that's half of it done, but I also want to emboss the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it down, and I'm just going to line it up so that my right edge, it doesn't matter really where you put it in the embossing folder. I'm just lining it up on the right side because it's just easy for me. And I wanted to vary the sentiments being shown, because like this one doesn't appear down here. So I'm just trying to make it look a little bit different. So I'm lining it up on the right side, and I'm just checking to see if I have enough space. It's not quite far enough away from the top of the, I'm just checking the spaces between the lines. Okay, I think that looks okay. So now this time, if I were to try to put it in this way, I realized that I don't actually have quite enough room. I think the first time I realized the paper would have hit the side of the cut and emboss machine, so I couldn't do it that way. So I decided I was going to try to put it in like this, and it actually works okay. I was worried that it wouldn't go through properly, but it actually is okay. Of course, it makes that awful snapping noise when it comes out because it's the full edge is underneath the rollers, and then it releases it. So let's go ahead and do that, though. There we go. And I'm not sure if it's because it's not a 3D embossing folder, but you don't get like a dreadful line across where the seam is. This one I don't get a seam. I don't know why, but it doesn't. It seems fine. So maybe it's because it's not 3D. But anyways, so that's how I did it. Okay, so I don't think I need my cut and emboss machine anymore, so I'm going to put this away over there. So Sandra's saying the reason why the hinge side should go in first is because the pressure builds up when your folder passes under the rollers. Then you need to have an open end at the bottom to allow the pressure to be released. Oh, okay. I think I see what you mean, because let me just show. So I think you're saying that because this side is open, it allows the pressure to be released. And even if I put it in this side first, I still have an open end down here. Although it's attached at one end, but it seems to be fine. So anyways, that's what I did. I couldn't get it to, I wasn't going to be able to do it another way if I wanted this size of cardstock to go through. All right. Good explanation, Sandra. All right, so what's the next thing I'm going to do? I'm going to show you. Okay, so what you could do, I'm just going to fold my paper and burnish the fold. So what you could do is you could adhere it now and punch your hexagon so it matches exactly. However, I wanted to do it separately because when you cut this out together, let's say, so I would have put, I guess you could put glue behind the entire mat, but I don't want to do that. I don't want my blades on my punch to get all gummed up with any adhesive. So what I do is I'm going to cut my mat first, and then I will put adhesive around the hole so that this opening, the papers don't separate after the mat is adhered to the front. Right? So you could have done the whole thing behind the entire mat, but again, like I don't want the adhesive stuck to my punch. So I'm going to punch it first. Okay. So here we go. I'm going to release the punch from the lock, and I'm going to turn it over so I can see where I'm punching. So I'm going to take the top section and I'm going to slide it in all the way until I can't go any further. Okay, and then I'm going to center it. So I'm just eyeballing this, and that looks about right to me. So I'm just going to punch it. Just a second. Just making sure that it's straight on the bottom. There we go. All right, so now that I've punched it out, I will adhere it, okay? And then I'll punch it again. All right, so now I only put glue on around the edges. I don't think, you know, some people use a lot of glue. You know, I tend to be conservative on the amount of glue. I don't want the paper to look wet or like to absorb the, so much glue and then start wrinkling after it as it dries. So I'm putting a little bit of glue around the edge, and I don't go right to the edge because I don't want the glue to squish out. I don't have quite enough there when I put it on the paper, but it gives me time to adjust the location of where I'm putting things, because it's still damp, right? Instead of Stamp and Seal, which once it's stuck on, you don't really have a lot of wiggle room, but here we go. See, now this time I won't have a white edge around my card base. There. All right, so now I need that window, so I'm going to take my punch again, and I'm going to punch again. So it should fit exactly, because this is going right up to the edge too. You're just going to line up your original hole and then punch. There, and now I have my hole in the front of my card. All right, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take my DSP and punch out a piece. All right, so this is from the Delightful Floral. And you're going to need something with a pattern that's not too dark, because otherwise you're not going to be able to see the text when you stamp out your sentiment on it. I'm just going to try and find the piece that I used. This looks like a full sheet. Just wondering which sheet did I use for the partial. Okay, wait, oh, there we go. I did punch from this sheet. All right. So I'm just gonna take my punch and I'm gonna try to line it up so I can maximize the usage of my paper. So it's right up against the edge. There we go. All right. Okay, I'm gonna have to bring out my Stamparatus for this. You don't have to use a Stamparatus, but because my background is a little bit darker than the one Elisabeth demoed, I need to stamp it twice to make it really stand out. So I'm going to use my Stamparatus. Okay, so let's put this on. Whoops. Put this on right here. And I'll line up the edges so that I'll use my grid to help me make it straight. Okay, this is Enjoy Your Day from the Heartfelt Hellos. So here it is. And I want it right in the middle so that this piece, when I cover it up, it will cover up my sentiment as well. So it just fits. So I'm just lining it up in the middle of these two sides here. Okay, and what I'm going to do after I pick it up with my panel is I can see that this is slightly angled, so I'm going to fix the, actually, see, I can't use the edge of the stamp as a guide. I'm looking at the grid on my panel, and then I'm looking at the actual stamp, on the back here. And I'm just using my eye to judge if it's straight. And I think it looks okay. All right, so I just adjust it right on the panel there. Now I'm going to ink it up. Okay. So I'm going to slide the Heartfelt Hellos underneath there so I have a flatter surface to work with. And ink this up with Pretty Peacock. Okay. Let's see how that turned out. So that's pretty good, but I am going to do it again so that I can make the text stand out a little bit more. Yeah, these two stamps at Sandra go well together, I think, because the text is it matches some of the text here, right? So I think it looks good together, and I liked how these two sentiments work together. Okay, so I can see my N and my Y still missing a little bit of ink. So I'm going to do it even a third time. There. Okay. I think that looks pretty good. All right. So just let me clean my stamp using my chamois. Close this up. Let's take that out. Okay, so now that I have that ready, oh, I need my mat now. So instead of just putting this straight onto here, which would make it very hard to read anything you write here, I'm going to put this mat on first, right? So that it you have something to write on. So let me just get my stamp and seal out. And we'll stick that right in the middle. All right, so now I'm going to close this up. So to get this to line up exactly, I'm going to put my adhesive on, and then I will stick this right through the hole so I know that it lines up exactly with the hole in the front, okay? So I'm going to use Stamp and Seal for this too. Something useful I realized with my Take Your Pick tool is that I could actually use this to pick up a piece of paper too. I need my silicone mat to do this because I was sticking to my finger. So if I put it down on my silicone mat, then I can pick it up with this. No, it doesn't work. Oh, it's just stuck to the mat a little bit. It's just I don't want my, usually I use like my, okay, this is not gonna work. I thought it would work. I just thought of it, and nope, that does not work out well. I just didn't want my fingers in the way of placing this into the hole. Okay, so now I'm just gonna stick this right into the hole. And try not to get it caught on the edges here. There we go. There we go. Perfect. So now it's right in the center. So now I'm going to stamp this piece. Okay, so if you're watching for the first time, don't worry about writing down all the measurements. I always post them in my video description afterwards. So you can just enjoy watching. So this piece here is 2 3/4 by 1 inch. Okay, so 2 3/4 and 1 inch. Let me just get that cut out. Yeah, you might want to think about getting that Heartfelt, the Heartfelt Hexagon. I don't know, it's a good set. has some things on there. Like I don't have any other wedding type of stamps, and it actually came in. It actually comes with this set here, and I think that would work well on the inside. So it is pretty useful, I think. Okay, so I'm just trying to think. What was I? Oh yes, I need my white. Okay, so let me just check. I have a piece of white left over here. I need my ruler and double check. This is, whoops, not quite. Oh, maybe. Did I say 2 3/4? I think it's just shy of that. 2 3/4. Yeah, this one's too short. Oh my goodness, like how short is it? It's literally 1/16 of an inch too short. I think I can get away with that. Yeah. So I'm going to just cut off 1 inch here. I'm going to use the right side for measuring this time. It's just handy. Okay. Oh, hi, Tara. Sorry you can't watch live. That's too bad. Sandra's asking, are the other stamps a trim for the hexagon? Yes. So these two act as a trim. So if you take a look at my other card that I made, see this one is the trim here, right, for this card. Okay, so I'm going to freehand this. I know, scary stuff. It's really not so bad. It just takes practice. Sometimes I make samples like that and I leave them in the box when I don't need it because it didn't work out for what I was trying out. Okay, there's my stamp. Actually, would it work better with this would fit, my smaller one. So I'm just going to line it up here on my grid and I will pick it up. Okay, so let me get my ink pad. So I always check as I'm inking up that the full image is inked there. And I'm just going to center this and oops, stamp it. There we go. All right. So here's the card again. So because it's only being adhered along the side, okay, so I'm only going to put adhesive along the side here, and because my Stampin' Seal is much wider, I'm going to use tear and tape to line it up. And even the tear and tape, it might be a little bit wide, like if you don't position exactly. So you know what I did is I actually cut my tear and tape in half lengthwise. So let me just show you what I mean. Okay. Thank you, Sandra. I have been trying. Okay, so I'm just going to cut off a bit here. I think that's about the length of my... Oh, it's a little bit long. I have to trim it a little bit. Still a little bit long. My gosh. Okay, so now I'm going to take those pieces and put them in the garbage before they get stuck to other things. All right, so now I'm going to take this strip and I'm just going to cut it lengthwise, and that way I don't have to worry about the adhesive sticking out from the sides. So I'm just going to put this right here. And right here. Okay, so let's take the backing off. All right, so a little bit of extra tape there. I'm just gonna roll it back so it's underneath on the cardstock. All right, and I'm going to use my tweezers so I can help position this. So I'm just aiming to put this right in the middle and hopefully straight, and see how it covers up your inside sentiment. That's what you're aiming to do. And then I'll just press the sides down. And that is the card. Is that like not easy, so easy, like super fast? Look at that. Right? I think that turned out well. I like how it turned out better than using the white card base, because now it looks very clean and it's a nice contrast with the white. I think that looked really good. Yeah. So this is actually a preview, Sandra, of the class coming this Saturday. Sandra's joining me for my Heartfelt Hexagon class this Saturday. And this is the same layout I'm using for one of the cards, but we're using different colors and different DSP. So this will be a fun one to make, I think. So I hope you enjoyed that, and hope you're inspired to try this out yourself. I would love it if you share it in the comments and for everybody to see. And hope you all have a great week, and I will see you next week. Bye, everybody.